I'm in Pensacola, headed over to the federal courthouse for the second half of my deposition, which the magistrate is limited to 3 hours. The last hour for cross-examination from my lawyer. And believe it or not, for the first time ever, I learned how to tie a tie. I learned by watching YouTube. And hopefully you can learn a lot by watching this as well. Don't get stalked by crazy fans. There's the federal courthouse in Pensacola right there. Randy just walked in. He's here an hour early. He got up extremely early. Doreen was supposed to be here with them, but she got ill. And so he was on the road at like 4, maybe even 3 a.m. I spent the night. See what happens inside. I'm outside of the courtroom right now. I can take this off and take a few buttons off. So it was beyond interesting. And I can say that I have a tremendous amount of respect for the magistrate. He is absolutely no nonsense. And not in his words, in my words, he basically told Duece multiple times that he's tired of babysitting him. Now, he included Randy in that as well, since Doreen couldn't be here, but it was all referenced towards Duece. So let me try and break this down a little bit, which the magistrate was very clear that I have every legal right to film all of this, share all of this, and he will never interfere with that. And so I appreciate that he actually appreciates the First Amendment and upholding that. And so he was very, very clear. But the very first thing he did, he brought us into a waiting room outside of his office with the security guard, which I thought was interesting that everybody in the federal building actually has bulletproof vests on. And so, except for the actual magistrate or the judge. And so he brings us in, he goes, listen, you know, I want to do this the nice way. I just want to, I want us all to get along, and I want to come at you, you know, with pleasantries, and I'm trying to recall everything, because the one thing he did for everybody, he made us all lock our phones up in the beginning, because Duece in the other deposition kept going, "Are you filming? Are you filming? Why can't you tell me if you're filming?" So the magistrate had us all lock up our phones. There are safety deposit boxes right at the beginning as you go through the metal detector. And so all of our phones were locked up, and even then I couldn't bring in my bottles of water. I brought bottles of water because I'm the one that's going to be speaking the most, and I couldn't even have bottles of water go up. But then I was offered a pen, and I do have exhibits that I took some notes on as well. So from the beginning, here's the interesting thing. Randy and I were there an hour early. We were supposed to be here at 10 a.m. Central Time, but we were actually here 9 a.m. Central Time. And Duece walks in right behind us. Now, from my very first opinion on appearance, I mean, this is when most people see me, they're like, holy cow, you're so much bigger than on YouTube. I guarantee you Duece was thinking the exact same thing, because what I was thinking was, oh my gosh, you're so much smaller. Like, he looked unhealthy, completely and totally unhealthy. And I know you're wondering, did he have rolls of paper towels? Nope, he had a handkerchief, and he just kept with the nose. He kept with the nose. Now, we can make some educated guesses of why. You can look up the symptoms, constant running nose, and you can figure all that out yourself. But my first thought was, wow, he looks like a frail little man, and I'm 3 times his size, height, width, everything. I'm a large man, and I guarantee you he was thinking the exact same thing. Holy cow, Jeremy's much bigger in person, as so many people have already stated as they've seen me in person. So then we go through the metal detectors. We go up to the magistrate's office, security guard there, full bulletproof vest, the whole deal. Magistrate brings us in, and ironically enough, over an hour is spent laying down the ground rules, and he begins to state things, you know, I want to do this pleasantry, let's all get along. And then Duece, who keeps interrupting him. Oh, I was mind blown. I was shocked. And the magistrate goes, listen, I have the authority to have the marshals take you and lock you up right now. Don't make me use it. And so The magistrate raises his voice to the level I was just at. You see the frustration, and it's because of Duece. It's because he won't stop being a child. Now, the magistrate is fair, though, because he looks at me and he looks at Randy, but all of this is because Duece just interrupts him. And he goes, I didn't want to go this route, but here I am now, because it was insanity. Duece, from the very beginning, can't shut his mouth. He can't be professional. And he's being told by a magistrate, you get out of line today, you're going to be locked up. This is no joke. This is not an exaggeration. And boy, I wish I had that on camera. Now, this magistrate is in my opinion, very high quality. Honestly, he reminds me of me. He's a younger version of me. He has morals, he has principles, he has values, and he lives by those. And when you cross them, there's a problem. Now, anybody who's ever had a problem with me in my life, they've wanted me to compromise on my morals, my values, and I say no. And when I say no, then they get out of control, then they defame me, right? We've seen it over and over and over again. We literally see these individuals all coming together, joining forces together in all of their filth, no morals, no values, all of their disgustingness, to actually incriminate themselves even more and more. Well, this magistrate has high morals, high standards, high values. He's a family man, and he should. And so he puts Duece literally in his place from the get-go. While he was being fair and directing it towards me and Randy, he was looking at myself and Randy as well. But it was because of Duece and directed at Duece. And so there's this whole conversation in regards to what about a summary judgment. You know, Duece wants this thrown out. He wants money, the whole deal. And the magistrate goes, what in the world? Who files for a summary judgment before evidentiary hearings? Before you have all the evidence? He goes, in what world does anybody ever file for a summary judgment? And Duece goes, oh, you could just withdraw that. The fact of the matter is this: he has no clue how this system works. Randy has had to educate him on everything through this process, and now the magistrate is educating him, and the magistrate is beyond frustrated with him. Now, I have to be fair in this as well, because the magistrate's frustrated with me, and he goes, listen, Jeremy, for your sake, you have to answer these questions. And I tell him, I got two concerns. Number one, this is an individual that's defaming me and putting together a group of people to defame me even more. And number two, they're putting all of my information out online and causing more loss of income, hurting my relationships, hurting my business, and hurting my life. And he was very to the point with me as well. And he would put me in my place. Now, he never said anything like, listen, we are going to call the marshals right now if you get out of line. He said, listen, I know it's out of control. And this never, ever should be in a situation where I'm being deposed by an individual who is proactively defaming me, who's proactively trying to destroy my life. This is not appropriate. And the magistrate knows that. He even mentioned that he has read the documents. There was just so much. And Duece goes, well, I'm going to withdraw that summary judgment. He goes, I'll file for that after the evidentiary hearings and all of this and all of that. Literally, the magistrate is training Duece what to do in federal court, which is pathetic. Extremely pathetic. And you would think that Duece would have actually got the point at that point to shut his mouth and stop interrupting the magistrate. But no. Oh boy, at the end of all of this, which I'm going to get to, well, you want to hang on to the end of all of this, because he goes off on Duece yet again. So he literally says, if anything gets out of control, he goes, I've never had to do it, but I will call the marshals. You will be locked up today. And I'm sitting there going, I really respect this man. I appreciate his morals, his values, his standards. I appreciate that he's going to keep this going the way that it should be going. And I'm sitting there going, this is my brother from another mother in Ohio. OH! Oh, and he is. He's from Ohio. Here's one of the things when it was being pleasant before he had to actually threaten Duece with being locked up today. He mentioned two very, very interesting things. Number one, his wife is from Trenton, Florida. Where's Randy Shockett's office? Trenton, Florida. How small world. Number two, Ohio State graduate, and he grew up in Ohio, 30 minutes from where Hale's headquarters is. So small world in regards to that. See, things started pleasant, but then Duece, as the usual, per the pattern, he took it very unpleasant, and the magistrate didn't like that very much at all. Again, I want to be clear. The magistrate didn't just reprimand Duece. The magistrate was reprimanding all of us, but it was directed towards Duece. And the magistrate, at times, even, when I voiced my concerns, he said, well, this is what's going to happen. Your lawyer is going to file for a restraining order that Duece cannot release any of this information. So, per the deposition, then your lawyer is going to file a restraining order, and I'll approve the restraining order, and none of this is going to get out anyway. Do you understand there's a group of people trying to destroy all of my income and my business, and the more information that comes out in court about that gives them more ways. For example, one of the things that I shared today in the deposition is one of the ways that they destroyed my whatnot auctions last week. And now if that gets out, now they know what to do yet again to destroy more income. Now that business is thriving right now, and in its infancy, it is going to be a very successful business. And that's year one. You destroy that income, and now you multiply that by year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, year 7, year 8, year 9, year 10. And that's what they're being held liable for. The destruction. And we're talking millions, not just millions, potentially tens of millions of dollars just in one business, not even to mention the others that they've destroyed. Okay. So we get to a point to where he finally says, listen, court reporters here, we're going to go in. This was the craziest thing. I didn't even think the magistrate was going to be there for the entire thing. I thought, yeah, we're going to be at the federal court. We'll be set in a room, and if needed, we'll go get him. He goes, you're going to be in my courtroom. Jeremy, you're going to be in the witness stand. Duece, you're going to come up to the podium. And he goes, I'm going to hear everything. I'm going to be there for everything. He goes, but I better not be needed for anything. He goes, I am a potted plant, and if I'm not, I better not be needed. Well, he was needed quite a few times, which we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Now, he also, before we got in there, he gave wisdom to the attorneys. He said, listen, I've read this amended complaint where Duece is being added in as a defendant. And he goes, when this is all gone, when Jeremy Hales is gone, when Lynette Preston is gone, when Crook is gone, Lynette and Crook are gone, and Jeremy's gone, he goes, you guys are still attorneys. You are officers of the court. And there's a standard that you must uphold. And he goes, you're not. It ain't happening. And he goes, this is complicating things, adding more people to the actual case. And Randy goes, well, did you read it? He goes, no, I haven't read it yet. And he goes, well, when you read it, you'll understand it. And he was reprimanding Randy, going, are you sure this is the direction you want to go? Like, you are supposed to be professional officers of the court. And Randy goes, when you read it, you're going to understand why he's added. And so it was, it was interesting. It was interesting, to say the least. That means, well, I'll share this as well. Remember, there was a lot, and I didn't even have a pen and pencil, so I wish it was all filmed, because I need it for accountability purposes. I need it for safeguarding all the information and what happened. But so where was I going? So we get into the actual courtroom, and the court reporter's there, and I go up on stand. They do provide me a bottle of water. I do ask them a question. I said, I brought 2 bottles of water. I'm going to be speaking for hours. Duece is given 2 hours to depose me because he cut my deposition short. And then Randy's given 1 hour to cross-examine me. And Randy clearly states, he goes, I'm not going to cross-examine. I don't need to. We already know the case. And so Duece is given 2 hours, and he's like, well, can I go? Can I do this? Can I do? And the magistrate is shutting him down, literally shutting him down on everything. You can tell that this magistrate is very frustrated with Duece, with his behavior, with his filings, with, well, I'll get more into the behavior because he purely addresses it with his behavior with Randy, and at the very end. So we go into the courtroom. I finally have my tie off. We go into the courtroom. I'm put up on the stand, and Duece he emailed all the exhibits, which are our exhibits. I mean, he's literally asking me questions about our own exhibits, and he has them all numbered, not very well, but he does. And I have a packet, and Randy has a packet, and Duece has a packet, and the magistrate goes, "Listen, I'm going to sit right here." And one of the things the magistrate said beforehand is, "Listen, I feel like these are the things I say to my children." And I'm sitting there going, because he's acting like a child. I'm referring to Duece. A lack of professionalism, lack of knowledge of how the system even goes. His mouth just keeps running and running, as much as his nose, just wiping and wiping. Now, I will say, at no time did I see Duece shaking back and forth this time. So that was interesting, that he was not shaking back and forth. He was actually standing up at a podium. Now, it doesn't mean that he actually could communicate in clear sentences by any stretch of the imagination. And the magistrate and myself called him out on that multiple times. But it was just wiping of the nose, constant wiping of the nose, constant. And that was concerning, to say the least. But I'm in there, okay? I'm in there, court reporter's in there, Randy's in there, Duece is in there, and the whole deal. And the magistrate, again, after over an hour of laying down the ground rules and trying to be polite, and then putting Duece in his place, overall being fair, speaking to all of us, but it's all because of Duece, putting him in his place for interrupting him constantly pre-deposition. Oh my goodness. I'm just sitting there going, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this is a person with a law degree. I couldn't believe it. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. Okay, so Duece is asking me questions about our exhibits, and can you authenticate these? Well, yeah, I screenshot them, or, George screenshot them, or, at one point I said, well, maybe Deanna screenshotted some of them. I know Deanna has screenshotted some things, but George, for the vast majority, she has been the keeper of all the records as part of her job description of everything for court. She has it all in files and folders, and we're talking thousands upon thousands upon thousands of screenshots and videos and recordings, and everybody's got a folder, whether it's Lynette, Crook, Duece, and the list goes on. And so everything they've said that then they delete, well, the metadata is all still there. So my constant answer is, yeah, we can authenticate it. We know who saw it. I saw it. She saw it. And the metadata is all still there. It doesn't matter that Lynette deleted the pages. The metadata is all there. We can pull it right back up. Once it's on the internet, it's there for good. It's always there. And it got to the point where I couldn't take, Duece would ask me a question, and it wasn't even a question. I would be like, I don't even understand your question. And then I'd say, can you rephrase the question? So I'd rephrase the question and start to answer it, and he interrupted me. And I would be like, would you please stop interrupting me? To the magistrate told him, stop interrupting him. You asked him a question. Let him answer the question. And then Duece goes, but magistrate, it's a yes or no question. And he goes, you asked an open-ended question. You're going to get an open-ended answer. And he goes, but he's trying to filibuster and he's just trying to take up all my time. And then you got the court reporter going, Jeremy, speak slower. And I go, well, Duece is telling me to speak faster because I'm filibustering right now. And the magistrate's going, I just want to be a potted plant, not babysit. And the magistrate is literally babysitting Duece, telling him to stop interrupting me, telling him to let me answer the question he asked. It is not what you see on TV or movies in regards to courtroom settings at all. It's literally babysitting. The magistrate is literally babysitting, and the person he's babysitting is Duece. And it was odd. It was odd. So Duece asked me questions about all these exhibits. Okay, so we got all these exhibits. We have all these exhibits. These are our exhibits, but he did add some, okay? He added some, which I have every right to share with. He added transcripts from one of my videos, and this is interesting. He says, our haters can't stop talking about, this is me from a live stream, May 21st, 2023. Our haters can't stop talking about us even when they have legal documentations in their hand, okay? So then he adds another one from a live stream, which, by the way, AI transcripts are not reliable. Another one, this is December 8th. This was recent, me talking about the magistrate. So Duece at the end, he asked for, can I have 5 more minutes? And the magistrate goes, fine, 5 more minutes. Because he wants to add this in from the Exhibit 101 from my December 8th live stream, which says, guess what the magistrate, this is the transcripts. These transcripts are wrong, but the context is there. Now you know what I'm going to do. Share yet. I apologize. I went down a road and that wasn't fair. Well, I will share this. The magistrate is well aware. The magistrate told us to file a motion against him for sanctions. From the magistrate's own mouth, file a motion to get the sanctions. He will bring him here to Pensacola, and he will rule on it. And all these things that he's done, the magistrate isn't pulling any punches. He will, Lynette and Crook will have to be in Pensacola. Okay, so these are horrible transcripts. First of all, if he's going to put in an exhibit in court, you might want to actually get the real words that I said. And the magistrate even refers to it, and he goes, yeah, that happened during Char's deposition. And he goes, it wasn't me that emailed. He goes, it was my law helper, aide, something. There was an official term. So even the magistrate, Duece is trying to put this in front of the magistrate. And I go, yeah, during lunch in Char's deposition, the magistrate emailed. And the magistrate goes, yeah, that's what's happened. I was in an all-day hearing. So what? So Duece trying to put at the very end, oh, I got him. And the magistrate's going, that's exactly what happened. Again, all their lies being debunked over and over and over again. All right, so Duece cuts the magistrate. We could get into this whole deposition where Duece can't ask a real question about anything. He's literally showing all of my exhibits and asking me questions. How many people can you confirm saw the signs? Well, we know Zim Pageant, Therese Granger, Brett Granger. And the question for the jury is, who else saw the signs? Well, lots of people saw them. Now, have they come forward yet? No. But that doesn't mean people aren't going to come forward that saw the actual signs. And the fact that the things that were written on those signs are so horrific. If one person saw them, whether it was just Therese or Brett or Zim or anybody, could have been anybody, that's horrific enough. It's horrible. Absolutely disgusting and horrible. And we absolutely know with 100% certainty that Lynette wrote half of them. Now, it didn't even come up with their fake handwriting expert, which you've heard nothing about in this federal court case, have you? The PR smear, which you did hear quite a bit about the PR smear. Oh, it was funny that he even brought in Angela Gleason and tried to throw Angela Gleason under the bus in the deposition. He tried to throw Stupid Dave under the bus in the deposition, trying to claim that Stupid Dave is a mole, Angela Gleason is a mole. Who else did he throw under the bus? He was trying to sort out who the moles are. Everybody giving us information. And because we have evidence from those individuals and comments they've made. And he was trying his best to figure out who was it, who did it, who is it. And he is literally throwing Stupid Dave under the bus. He's throwing Angela Gleason under the bus. And nobody else. And I find it odd, and he only had 2 hours, so I'm sure he would have gone on more and more, but I find it odd that he's fixated on those 2 individuals when he's been demanding a list of moles. If you remember from deposition number 1, he's been demanding a list of moles, which I started naming my moles and my freckles from deposition number 1. So he's trying to sort out, is it Angela Gleason or is it Stupid Dave? And all of those who are going, who's Angela Gleason? Who's Stupid Dave? Do not ask in the comments in this video. We will not be promoting any of them for anything, and nobody answer those questions. And don't put links to anything either. Why would you do that to promote these fools who are trying to destroy our lives? I don't care that you don't know. You don't need to know. All you need to know is that Duece is trying to throw them under the bus and see if they're moles or not. which is rather interesting. You see that whole what the Hale's ecosystem is crumbling. Okay, so we get to the very end of the deposition, which most of the time I can't even understand a question that he's asking. And Randy is opposing and objecting. But keep in mind, when Randy's objecting, the magistrate is not ruling on that objection. He's just babysitting. And that's literally what he's doing. He's babysitting the deposition in the court. That's it. And that's all he wants to do. He wants to be a potted plant. He's working on other things. Other people are in his courtroom working on other things as well. And yet he has to keep stopping Bruce and telling him to ask. Well, here's the other thing. Before going in, he lit into Duece. He lit into him in regards to, he goes, you know what? I read the entire deposition. He goes, the first third was fine. And then the 2/3 afterwards, what were you doing? There will be none of that. None of that. He goes, the only thing that we will be discussing is that your clients have defamed Mr. Hales and his allegations of their defamation and extortion. That is the only thing you will be asking questions about today. Do you understand? And he ripped into him for that. Now, he also more politely told me, Jeremy, you have to answer the questions. He goes, if you don't answer the questions, I have to dismiss the case. You have to answer the questions. And that's where I got to the point of going, listen, confidentiality, they're destroying my income. And that's where he said, well, we're going to file for a restraining order on him. And I went, all right, great, let's go for it. So I did answer some questions about income, about destruction of business. And at the end of all of this, which I find very, very interesting, the magistrate cuts Duece off. Duece is trying to get all the questions in now, which none of us can even understand his questions. I'm literally looking at the security guard, and I look over at him, and the security guard looks at me, and he's like, and then I'm looking at the magistrate, and the magistrate's like, and Randy's going, and I'm sitting there going, can you ask a simple, concise question? Like, this guy cannot communicate. How did he get to be a lawyer? Oh, wait, that's right. It's a law, LOL, okay. All right, so we get to the end, and the magistrate cuts him off and says, you're done. You're done asking questions. And Randy goes, no, we're not going to ask any questions. And then the magistrate asks, all right, how many more depots do you got? And Duece goes, none. He goes, as of right now, I'm not committing to any. He goes, because I think after today's deposition, this is all going to be dismissed. And the magistrate's giving him a look like, And then he asks Randy, how many more do you have? And he goes, oh, we've got 7 plus Lynette and Crook. And he goes, they're going to be at the very end. Per the normal process, which Duece knows nothing about. And he goes on to say, listen, this wasn't too bad today. This is what I would expect in a normal deposition. Duece literally starts interrupting him. And he goes off on Duece. I mean, literally goes off on Duece. Goes off and he goes, you know what? I wasn't going to have anybody else come here for the depositions, but now maybe I think I'm going to, because you obviously are proving that this can't be done professionally. And then he starts attacking Duece for not communicating with Randy, for refusing to talk to Randy's assistant. And it just, the list went on. And he's going off on Duece. And Randy and I are kind of like, whoa. And then Duece literally is trying to interrupt him as he's getting a spanking. And the magistrate is literally saying, this are conversations I have to have with my children. Like, you are supposed to be professional officials of the court. What's the problem here? You are going to communicate with it. And his temperature and his frustration level went up. And it wasn't with me or Randy. It was with Duece. And so after he's trying to say no more depositions are going to happen here. And Duece starts talking about Lynette's deposition in civil court. And the magistrate acknowledges that. And then Duece goes, that's because of Randy. It wasn't her. And that's when the magistrate goes off on him. He goes, are you going to have these side comments on everything? Because that's what's happened so far. And so keep in mind, earlier, he was already threatened to be jailed. Literally, if he did not conduct himself in a professional manner, that the magistrate was going to have the marshal come and lock him up. Those are the magistrate's exact words after Duece interrupted him before. And now the magistrate's saying, maybe I will bring all depositions right here to federal court, which means Duece has to fly to every single one of them, which means Duece has to continue to come back to Florida, which means Lynette and Crook have to come to Pensacola. Now, for me, at the hourly rate, that's 5 hours driving, 10 hours, plus we were in there for, 4 hours now. I'm paying 14 hours for my lawyer and fees associated with that. So you're looking at just under $5,000 for today. Now, for me and my business, it's getting much more difficult to care for all of these fees, which is why I have to immediately get back to Florida and run an auction, which I went in detail how they have destroyed parts of my auction income this past week, which I'm not going to divulge right now, but it obviously is going to be a part of the courts. Okay. How foolish do you have to be coming from Massachusetts, wiping your face the entire time? I already told you're going to be locked up if you don't behave, and then keep interrupting the magistrate in a federal court who told you he's going to get a court martial come over and remove you and lock you up. And the magistrate is going, I don't think we need to do this anymore. And then Duece interrupts and he goes, I think I'm changing my mind now. Mind-blowing. Now, the magistrate did look at me and, you good, Mr. Hale? Yep, everything's good. And he did say, hey, thank you for answering all the questions. And he went into this, the magistrate went into this, which I thought was very applicable. He said, listen, I don't know why we have so many problems with civil lawyers versus we have all these huge criminal cases here. And I think it was criminal. I think it is. And I may be wrong on that. Civil versus whatever else. He goes, what I think it is the attorneys who show up for the non-civil cases here, they get a blanket fee. This is what they're getting paid for, and they all work together. And yet in the civil world, you get to charge per hour and you make mountains out of molehills. And he goes, I don't think that's right. And he goes, for you, Mr. Hales, I don't think that's right. That, you get another motion and another filing. This is costing you so much money. Well, this is costing me so much money because of them. And he's going on stating that Duece is going to work with Randy respectfully and professionally. And he's going off on Duece. He's not going off on Randy. And while we're all in there hearing it, and he's going, why is it? Why is there this babysitting? These are the words I say to my kids. This is a direct quote from the magistrate. These are the words I say to my kids. And I'm sitting there going, yep, you're babysitting this dude, Duece. It was insane. And he goes, I don't know why civil lawyers can't get along. He goes, but I might just make you both go and have a meal together. I might court order you to have a meal. Now, I wonder, why can't Randy get along with Duece? Well, Duece isn't in control. He thinks he has to be in control of anything. Oh, you have to schedule this call. I won't take this call. He's recording illegally. My opinion. Take it for what it's worth. I won't do this. I won't communicate. Duece has said he won't communicate with Emma, the assistant. He won't do this. He won't. Obviously, he has an issue with females. Obviously, he has an issue with Randy. Obviously, he has an issue with everybody. We've seen all the cussing, the swearing, the video now, the bribing of $100 to Landon for video, the insanity of it all. The magistrate puts the smack down on him for sure. And he sits there and he gives this analogy. He goes, I can have one lawyer come in here, like just happened, and Randy would say, the sky's blue today. And the other lawyer, the opposer, would go, no, it's periwinkle. And they go, I want a motion. I want a judgment on it. Speaking about Duece, he goes, this is going to stop right now, immediately. He's not happy with Duece. I can guarantee you he's not happy with Duece. Let me put it this way. His level of unhappiness with me is right here. His levelness of unhappiness with Randy is right here. His levelness of unhappiness with Duece, it's way above. You can't see it, okay? And he literally told Duece, he said, you can think anything you want. Don't say it. And I'm sitting there going, I like this guy. This guy reminds me. As a matter of fact, the funny thing is I'm literally looking at him. I'm going, he has my facial features. The thinner, younger Jeremy, that's me. He has my haircut. He has my facial features. He has my morals, my standards, my values. If I were a judge, that's what I would want to be. And we're going to find out. Is he going to bring Lynette and Crook? Is he going to bring every other deposition into the federal courthouse that I just left because of Duece? Remember, when you hire a lawyer, you get what you paid for. And what Duece is doing to Lynette and Crook isn't helping. Not one little bit.